Ayun. Oh, it's working. Hey, we're at Francisco Manosa's company. Huh? 1, 2, 3, and we are the group 2.
Start it.
Started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now my whole team here. Started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now the whole team here. Started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now my whole team here. Started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now the whole team here. I done kept it real from the jump.
21st century, a tough field for architecture. Globalization is at hand. Professionals sprawl from all over the countries to practice their professions. Firms establishing to support the construction emerging from escalating economy of the countries. Competition among firms are strong at design, industry, and firms that are established during the golden age of Philippine architecture struggles to be the best. One of them is the Francisco Manosa Company.
Francisco Manosa is a Filipino architect noted for his inspired architectural designs. He designed the Coconut Palace. Manosa, on May 2008, built his own Ayala Alabang Village by Cuba Mansion with only 3 posts or haligi. It has 5 1-inch coconut shell doors, second floor, a silang Muslim room, sala, and master's bedroom with a fish pond therein.
The works of Francisco Manosa are Harlem Plus Holden, Loom Residence, Moonwalk Church, Coconut Palace, Amanpulo Resort, Aquino Center, Ateneo Loyola, Ateneo Rockwell, Expo 1992 Spain, Gadges Village, Pearl Farm, Escaya Resort, Light Rail Transit LRT, APT Studios, Mountain Ridge, San Mig Pub, EDSA Shrine, San Miguel Building, St. Joseph Church, and Magallanes Crypt.
When and where? When in the 40 years ago.
40 years ago was the anniversary of architect Bobby Manosa's practice started independently, meaning with his own firm, with partners. Prior to that, you must be familiar that there was a company called Manosa Brothers. So, the three of them, primarily Manilin, Manosa, Bobby, and Ingoy, Jose. Alright, so it's been 40 years that Bob and his philosophy has been practiced.
What challenges did the firm faces since early years?
Well, particularly, you must be familiar with architect Manosa's practice. It's Philippine architecture. So you can just imagine, in those days, it's a very original in a way. The Filipino tayo, it's an original one for the reason that it is not quite defined yet. So that was his very basic cost to be able to put an identity of who and what we are in the form of architecture. So that is a major challenge in the earlier years now when we try to put together a definition to what architecture or Filipino architecture is.
How did the firm overcome it?
Well, I think if you look at the philosophy of architect Manosa, Bobby Manosa, it's architecture should be true to itself, its land, and its people. Three very distinct issues. No? True to itself, meaning if you're designing something, it should look more or less what it should be. No? A house should not look like a warehouse kind of deal. It should be true to its land, meaning wherever you put it, you have to be very conscious to what the land offers, no? Including environmental consciousness and whatever environment that land has. So obviously you can see why he's been saying that, before the foreigners came, the Bahay Kubo was there, and there is great reason why it should look like that and to have its elements that way, because it is time tested with its environment. So that's where it being true to its land, diba? And its people, finally, is actually the occupant of the architecture you're putting together. So if your occupant is Filipino, you have to consider the Filipino completely as an occupant. Its culture, its ways, and many other things. Diba? That's something that we should be very particular in designing things for the occupant. So in this case, if it's going to be in the Philippines, I qualify that as in the Philippines because we do, in a way, design work for other countries also. So if the project is sensitive to a particular culture, we take into consideration its people. Okay? So that's how we take care of that issue.
Yeah, okay. So thank you. What is the turning point where your firm gets a more complex or high-profile projects?
Turning point. Well, can you imagine the consciousness of a nation when they are enlightened to realize that they are a distinct culture and people? They get to realize that there is a need for personal and national identity. So to those who believe in the cause of having architectural design for Filipinos, they started coming in and realizing, this is really for me because of my culture, my ways, whether it's a house or it's a building.
Okay. So, do you have projects abroad?
Yes, we do have some consultancies abroad.
Consultancies.
So, meaning our design practice is being exported in a way, no?
Okay. What countries?
Well, historically, we basically worked all over, no? From the Middle East to Hong Kong, to Australia, many parts. No? Some of them were actually brought about by the Philippine government when they wanted a representation of a Philippine consulate, let's say for example in the Middle East. So we were tapped to do that, and we interpreted it based on, of course, the conditions of its location, the general population in this case, including the sensitivities of religion. This is a consulate, so we have done that consulate, Filipino in a way.
So, as Philippine architecture profession entered globalization in 2016, what preparations did your firm do to make it globally competitive?
Well, for one, Bob is an APEC architect. So he is in many ways prepared long before we even talked about it, right? Because he's an APEC architect. Now he's, as a firm, where that globalization and that cross-border practice has its own workings right now, and that's more of a guideline by legal operation. So we're monitoring it, we're keeping the opportunities in the pipeline. We're very willing to do collaboration work for other people. You know, it's a two-way street. So we're ready for them if they ask us to pitch in for works outside or for works within the country.
How do you deal issues with allied professionals like civil engineers? You know, the issues between the architects and the...
Oh, you're talking about the interpretation of the practice,
Yes.
the borders. Well, for one, as a firm, we belong to different institutes also, you know, as practitioners. We somehow allow the organizations to work on issues like that. But as far as our firm is concerned, the allied professionals are allied professionals. So they're actually there to help us. It's just a question of whether or not you feel the boundaries have been moved. But as far as we're concerned with the complexities of work that we do, it's a good collaboration. You know, we know what things we ask them to do for us, and they do good work.
About the job offerings in your firm, what job is currently available in your firm?
Well, we are in search of talent. Of course, that search is defined partly by what we know of an applicant's capability, and of course, we have to be sensitive to realize if there's original talent from the new applicants. We cannot totally define what an applicant can deliver, but we want to be surprised. Baka kayo, may mga talent kayong tinatago dyan.
Sir, pwede mong itanong yung salary po.
Yung salary? Okay. Secret. Hindi, basta depende. I mean, of course, we still belong to a society that contribution brings in more benefits. Tama ba yan? So in a way, we all try our best to be able to be part of the solution. Because the more solutions you provide, of course, the more deserving you become for receiving something, hopefully more than what you need. Okay?
What advantage and qualities your firm has that will make it different from others?
Okay. Well, basically, it's the quality of our philosophy. No? That philosophy is original to us. Architecture should be true to itself, its land, and its people. You know? We're not confining ourselves purely to Filipino architecture when we say Filipino architecture alone. We respect and apply certain principles of global architecture depending on where the project is. You see? So, but since we're known for many structures in the Philippines, we're true to our promise that that philosophy for the Philippines will be applied. So if we go and cross borders, we take into consideration the other cultural issues, the other climatic issues. Diba? It's land, whatever it is, we have to deal with that. It's people, and of course, the intent of the design itself. No?
So, what would you advise to us as future architects when we enter the real architecture world?
Okay, that's a good question. You said the real architectural world. You have to know what the real architectural world is about. You're trying to figure that out right now, di ba? So aside from the textbook, look around you, because a lot of books are written by people who are not from here. Take note of that. No? So when you try to practice here, hopefully you have already gathered enough insights of where you are, what's needed, and what else is not in the book. But of course, apply what's in the book as far as the sciences is concerned. Diba?
So, what is the key to a successful architecture?
That's again another subject similar to what you were saying about the real world. At the end of the day, architects are solution providers. Let's try to be a part of the solution, not the problem. Okay, so when somebody comes around with a challenge, in our case it's a design challenge, we have to ensure that we have done enough research to be able to qualify a solution, a proper solution. So real world scenario there is, ultimately you will have a solution. So to be able to sell that solution, to be able to deliver that solution, there are many dimensions that is important, like relational dimension. You have to prepare yourself to develop a certain kind of attitude and personality. When I say part of the solution, kung nakasimangot ka lagi, baka hindi ka kausapin ng kliyente. So start smiling in front of the mirror and see what's your best angle. Baka pwedeng pabebe wave yan. See? That's an example. What else? Try to be prepared. Okay, so far so good. Anong year na kayo?
Fourth year po.
Fourth year. So what's your intended thesis? Naisip mo na ba?
Hindi, ang dami ko po kasing iniisip pa na gagawin thesis.
Kita mo, in real life, the challenge is something you do not choose. Lalapit yan kung anong gusto ipa-design sa'yo. Of course, it's up to you if you want to take it on. No? But now that you're doing your thesis soon enough, this is a great opportunity for you to be able to take on a challenge you want, what interests you. Yeah. So from there, you will be able to gather your first best tools, because maybe in your career, the thesis is the first challenge you will take in a more holistic way. You will try to come up with a solution on a conceptual problem that you get to choose. So that's a very important part of your career. Pagka tinanong ka, let's say 20 years from now, anong thesis mo? O ikaw?
Ako po institutional po yung hilig ko. Pero baka pwedeng mga pang resilient na mga evacuation centers, kaya government center. Basta pang institutional po.
That's good. Ikaw naman?
Ay, ako po, car manufacturing, sir, logistics center, in short.
That's
Pero
good.
process pa rin po, on the process of researching.
Well, that's good. I think we'll have a big need of industrial facilities. We're a developing country, and we're hopefully get a lot of good business in manufacturing. What about you?
Hindi pa rin po sure po saan po talaga ang pinaka-naan.
So, bigyan mo akong tatlo ng gusto mong gawin.
Residential, institutional, commercial, resorts, ganun.
Talagang broad na broad pa. Sa'yo?
Ang gusto ko po sana may kinalaman po sa government. At saka po yung isa ko pong pinag-ipinan is parang smart community po in the future po.
Smart community. That's interesting. Okay, so saan pa kayo nanggaling? Sa Caloocan pa?
Yes.
Galing po sa school. Kasi may tinapos ko po. Tapos, naghapon kami naman ng oras papunta po dito.
Okay. Oh, sige, I hope that this interview is helpful.
Yes.
We'll see in the next few years. I should be reading your names in the board passers, ha?
Sige po. Hopefully po.
Thank you, sir.
Sige.
Okay.
Started. Started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now my whole team.
And we
here.
are
Started from the
Hash
bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now the whole team
Eh
here.
kung palapit ka na lang dito sa ilaw. Palapit ka sa ilaw.
Bottom, now my whole team here. Started from the bottom, now we're here.
Kasi ang dilim mo dun eh.
Bottom, now the whole team here. I done kept it real from the jump.
Kaya mo yan. Kaya mo rin kabisaduhin niya.
You every month. I was trying to get it on my own. Working all night, traffic on the
Sige, malalagay kayo sa blooper.
calling me like where you at.